First of all, thank you everyone for joining us this morning. I appreciate it very much. And what kind of motivated this is obviously our water situation has been moving very fast. It's like a moving target. It hasn't remained static. It's very dynamic. And I was starting to hear some information that was not correct coming from social media and some other sources. I thought, you know what, let's have a press conference and kind of let everybody know so we're all on the same page. But thank you all for coming. First thing I think we need to do is to dive into the facts about St. Clairsville's water. And first, before that though, I would be remiss if I did not thank Mr. Jeff Vaughn, who has helped us tremendously with this project, and Mr. Kelly Porter, who is with Belmont County. They have worked with me tirelessly to get to a solution. And gentlemen, I thank you. I'd shake your hand, but we'll just do the air fist bump right now. Thank you. But we're going to dive into the facts about St. Clairsville's water. And I think it's important to go through a little bit of the history, because in order for you to have a better understanding of where we are, you need to know how we got here. And in 1960, Belmont County installed the East End and the Clark Road booster stations. And the first thing I did was say to Mr. Vaughn, what's a booster station? You guys are going to ask me. And he'll show you when it's time, but it's something that pushes the water so it can come uphill. And that was in 1960. And that was, everything was good then. So then we get to 1988. Well, we had a bad drought that year. And St. Clairsville was under a pretty tight water conservation order due to the drought situation. The reservoir was too low to provide us with water usage beyond that of drinking water. In fact, lawns, gardens, any kind of extraneous water use, swimming pools, that was not to happen that year. And due to that situation in 1988, St. Clairsville, Belair, Belmont County, they came together to develop a water connection from Belair that would supplement, not completely provide, but supplement water to Belmont County water and then to St. Clairsville water. Then in 1996, Belmont County doubled their water treatment capacity and distribution. That was in 1996. And you guys will all get a copy of this too, by the way. 2005, Belmont County and St. Clairsville hooked up for a joint project. They installed a 12-inch line and a booster station that allowed for the blending of water at the St. Clairsville water plant. And again, before I dove into all this, I did not know that you cannot blend water coming from an aquifer and surface water. It makes the water very turgid. It makes it very cloudy. So they were going to be able to do that at the water plant. And this was called Phase 1. And the agreement was in place for supplemental water from Belmont County to St. Clairsville. So from 2006 to 2014, supplemental water was provided at what, 325 gallons?
325,000.
1,000 gallons if we needed that much from Belmont County. Right, Kelly, is that good? And again, as needed from Belmont County. Well, from 2006 to 2014, again, was status quo, but unfortunately, the water plant was degrading all this time. In 2015, the plant degradation gets the Ohio EPA's attention. However, there was a lack of capital improvement to address the Ohio EPA's concerns. Then in 2016, Aqua approaches St. Clairsville expressing an interest in buying the water, sewer, and infrastructure. So that was in 2016, and I think it's fair to say from 2016 to this point, very little was done with the water plant in anticipation of possibly selling the water. Well, in 2019, obviously we had an election, and I'm standing here. There was increased Ohio EPA attention, getting to the point that I was in office 28 days, and on January 28th, we received what are called findings and orders from the EPA. And I did not realize when they first came in the seriousness of this document, but at this point it is a legal document that says these things absolutely need to be fixed now or else. Well, this initiated a brainstorming session between Belmont County, Jeff was there, Martins Ferry, and the city of St. Clairsville for a permanent source of water. So we basically had, at that point, 4 real choices. And the fourth one wasn't really a choice at all, but it was still out there. The first choice was to sell to Aqua. The second choice was to develop a means to get water from Martins Ferry. The third choice was to develop a means to get water up from Belmont County, or the fourth choice would have been to keep our water plant, put money into fixing it, and it would have been lots and lots and lots of money, plus the EPA very, very, very strongly encouraged and is encouraging other towns to not use surface water. They want you to use underground water. But those were basically the 4 choices. So from January 28th, and I kind of want to go over some of the accomplishments we've made in 4 short months, from January 2nd to April 30th. And this is another timeline. Again, January 28th, we received the Ohio EPA's findings and orders. This document outlines not only what the city had to do, but it gave us a time frame in which it had to be done. So we had 2 weeks to sit down, brainstorm, and go to Columbus then at the end of that 2 weeks and say, this is going to take us this long to do this, it's going to take us this long to do that, and we needed to negotiate for time with them because they had sent a timeline out to us that was pretty strict. And again, that was on February 18th. We went, along with our law director, Jeff went, to attend a mandatory meeting in Columbus with the EPA. And on March 2nd, we executed a response to the Ohio EPA. And then April 12th, the final findings and orders from the Ohio EPA received and were signed that in 2 years, the water plant and the reservoir must be abandoned and a permanent water source needs to be connected to the city. So in keeping this timeline in mind, the new administration has responded and accomplished the following. Again, February 26th, that brainstorming session between St. Clairsville, Belmont County, Martins Ferry, to talk about what the EPA wants to see happen, which is called regionalization. They want us to work together. How can we work together? We had 16 findings from the EPA, and you all will get a copy of this in the blue packets, the very specific things that needed to be done and fixed. So there were 16 findings from the Ohio EPA. So far, in just under 4 months, our team has accomplished 14 out of these 16, largely thanks to Don Smithberger and Jeff Vaughn. We're going to be doing a water loss audit. Our 5 municipal buildings had never been metered before, and we had heard ranges from 40% to 60% to 57% water loss that we were incurring. And the fact is, nobody really knew because the city buildings weren't metered. So the first step that we have taken was we had ordered 5 meters to meter the 5 municipal buildings. Mr. Smithberger, to this point, has 4 done. Is that right, Don?
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. So 4 out of the 5 are now installed. We also commissioned a study. Mr. Jeff Vaughn, our engineer, evaluated the water and sewer facilities and maintaining public ownership. He presented this study on, was that April 20th at council. And the study concluded that maintaining our city's water and sewer is indeed an affordable option. So where are we now? Well, we had some phone calls back and forth with Aqua last week, and the May 4th deadline is definitely off the table because the contract as it stood from last year is not applicable because too many parameters of the contract changed. The plant is going to be mothballed. They had put money for capital improvement for the plant, plus we have fixed a lot of things that they anticipated fixing. So that's where we are with that. But the city status and where we are is that Belmont County agrees to supply water by the following means. We're going to replace the East End booster station. We're going to maintain operation of the existing water plant booster station, and the Ohio EPA has us retiring the plant in 2 years. We're planning upgrades of the water distribution. That would be the pipes that come out to the city and to the homes. Distribution of pipes, hydrants, and appurtenances. Did I say that right? I just learned that word 2 years ago. And what that means are the valves and the gauges and everything. Those will be replaced too in a very planned manner. And this regionalization project will enable St. Clairsville to keep costs low due to low interest rate loans and grants. So that is where we are. And again, I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone who's been on my team: Jody, Jeff, Kelly, Donnie. These guys have worked tirelessly to get us to the point we are from 4 months ago, which was pretty much, oh my gosh, what are we going to do, to we have got a plan, and it's a good plan. So I thank you for listening to the history. I'd like to pass this on to Mr. Vaughn now and let him kind of give you some updates, okay? Does that work? Here, Jeff, I'll get out of the way so you can talk up here.
What you see on the left are some pictures. Mayor mentioned achieving 14 of the 16 orders that EPA dished out, and this picture sort of elaborate on a few of those that we have to do. What you see here is the main reservoir, the intake structure. A dive survey was initiated to take a look at replacing what they wanted us to do was the lower level gate. So the water plant in this 2-year period that we operated has the ability to take lower elevation water to the plant if we would have a harmful algal bloom occurring on the surface and not take the water off there. They also wanted us to go in the basement of the water plant and paint the piping. It was always so wet. We put in some industrial dehumidifiers to achieve a dew point reduction to allow painting to occur and keep it dry down there. Over here, we have a clarifier at the water plant that was leaking oil in the feed well. And the issue there was it was going to be so expensive to fix this so that oil wouldn't be in the main raw water. It was a food grade oil, by the way. So we drilled down into looking in the records, found the old shop drawings, and took it apart and put back in there about $20 worth of parts to allow this thing to properly vent out condensate that would accumulate in the gear reducer and make it operate properly and not have oil being discharged into the raw water clarifier. So those were a couple of the orders that were, 3 of them were considered a big deal and they were not being done, and we just went ahead and did them. They weren't as bad as they seemed after you kind of got into them. Kelly's going to explain the 2 locations of where St. Clairsville gets the water from that he's most familiar with.
So, as the mayor alluded to, back in original connection with the county in St. Clairsville, is located on the east side, Route 40, near Porterfield's drive-through Ring Road area. So that hasn't been used for a number of years, correct?
Yes.
The issue with that had been, as the mayor explained, the blending of the groundwater and the surface water. So there's a lot of complaints about the quality, obviously laundry, you could imagine, turbidity in the water. So that created a big issue. So then that led to, the connection at the water plant, and then they were able to, blend it was an easier transition of blending at the water plant with the surface and groundwater. So the east side connection was pretty much abandoned. So the reason why that's important is the east side connection is needed for redundancy. So it gives us some options if we have problems in our system to supply St. Clairsville. So sorry for all the I'm thinking. So anyway, So what we have is, we have east side connection. It can't be used as long as St. Clairsville's water plant is operating, okay? Because it won't mix. The only connection that can be used if St. Clairsville water plant is operating is at Route 9. It's a treatment plant. There, we cannot provide enough water, okay, for St. Clairsville's whole system until our upgrades are done, okay, currently in the planning stage. I'm sorry, finished, till our upgrades are finished, currently in the planning stage. So that's probably 2 years away. Okay, so that puts us right up against what the mayor's talking about, the EPA and the deadline for shutting down the plant. So what we're working on with Mr. Vaughn is to be prepared and ready on the east side and the Route 9 connection, so that we can provide all of the water that St. Clairsville would need on a daily basis, okay, without the plant running. So obviously, when we design it, we're going to design for growth in, the future. And with the plan that both of these connections will be permanent and metered and used daily. And that builds redundancy in to our system, so if we have a problem on one end or the other, we got reliable service. So that's pretty much it. Did I miss anything?
No, good job, Kelly. Jeff, right now, the plant at Route 9 can provide 325,000, right?
Well,
and we anticipate St. Clairsville needs about 525, is that right, Jeff?
Somewhere in that range,
Okay.
up to 550. So what he's showing you there is they can only do at that booster station about 50% of the city's needs right now. So with the other connection, they'll provide the other 50%. But yet, when he's fully developed, it can be 100% either way, a lot of flexibility, 100%, or 50-50. Correct.
I'll tell you what, see what happens when great minds get together. I'm really appreciative to these gentlemen, to everyone. And the nice thing about it is if we maintain our water, we have that flexibility of developing areas in St. Clairsville, such as the Commons. It won't be outsourced to someone else to make that decision if water will go there. So those are the options we have. Again, with Aqua, we're still in negotiations with them. They're going to have to obviously change some things, but that's where that is, and we wanted you all to be updated. Now, does anyone have any questions? We were that clear?
You did a very good job.
Jeepers. So this is very exciting, and again, to get thrown into this with my feet in the fire immediately, and to have this team come together, and if you'd have told me on January 2nd we'd be to this point, I wouldn't have believed it, because the EPA, the clock is running now, and when they told me that, I remember in The Wizard of Oz, remember when the witch gets the big thing, and the sand starts running? Well, we've got 2 years, but we're going to do it. We are going to do it, and we're going to do it well. So I am very proud of my team. And again, any questions, we're here. And we've got packets here for everyone containing the actual, if you want to drill down, I didn't want to go over them all, but these are the findings and orders that we received. In green are the things we've already completed. And in red are things that are still being worked on but are not quite done yet. So this is the specific list of the findings and orders. We've got a copy here from the EPA of what the findings and orders are. We've got that for you. Copy of the history, and Jeff also made copies, and Kelly, of the pictures of the things you're looking at. So that way you've got everything we know at this point, and we leave it in your hands to keep the public